All right, we're back. Sorry about that before. Yeah, power outage. Not good. But we're back. With a vengeance! And I was so eager to get back on that I didn't open up any of my books. Ha ha ha. So we sort of got cut off when I was reading Oranges. You know, these things, I will say, they have, contrary to how it may appear, they do have their own operating logic. And I was building towards a point, and that point got interrupted. So I do not care for when that happens. So. As Flavor Flav once said in the Night of the Living Bassheads video, don't be stopping me. My favorite moments ever filmed. All right. Oh, the cat's crying. That's not good. All right, so it looks like we're still having some connection issues. So some things aren't loading up very nicely. So we're going to go with what we can. So here we go. Water rushing so fast it looks like knotted wood. Its sound a ceaseless perpetual crash in static blue and black. Droplets burst over the plank sides and dot the dirt or land on kicked-out bricks, and from the ravine's opposite angle the water seems to glide clockwise, rolling ever nearer toward the gears. And into the factory, where 7 years previous the core of the industry sunk unexpectedly early, and like a defense attorney the treasurer ruled the materials used were archaic and their methods unrealistic, and as demand seized up, the foreman and night shift technicians acidly joked they were laboring within the Great Repression. For ages, it seemed like the beams from the afternoon sun wouldn't come, but we later learned the view was obscured by a flood started from the diamond mine. We know. It's either tacitly implied or we're told outright, you can't be seen like that. You need lights. When money is exchanged and you're finally responsible and realistic, you can't be seen like that. You need lights. Know the value of being articulate and reconsider your obscure subject. You need to stay in the lines you need to revise. Realize the need to eliminate images that would be unwise to present or ideas you'd be unable to defend. Why persist if honest people cannot implicitly understand? You can't be seen like that. You need lights. For years it seemed like the beams from the afternoon sun wouldn't come, but we later learned the view was obscured from a flood started in the diamond mine. Back in the head office, on the desk next to the coffee, scissors, and gold pen set, was a black leather envelope in the morning's newspaper whose sub-headline read, Forget Forgetfulness, and detailed a local photographer who makes elaborate, enormous near-twin gelatin prints of events, one real, one staged, and described the effect as painting over paintings. When asked by the reporter who will get this, the photographer remarked, anyone who misses being pure or ever imagined placing one point in time over another, anyone who pictures the shape of ideas and not the shape of their own mind, anyone who sees a crowd and tries to find the people in disguise. Later, the paper lay open to the crossword puzzle, and among answers written in indeterminate script were asides like, does purpose follow appearance? Where is this from? Reasons better than because. And finally, determining what to become. So we are still having all sorts of connection issues. So it's not good. But giving up would not be, it's not the way that we do things around here. Good Lord. It's pretty bad. I don't want to just read fucking poems from one book. apologize for the delays. Jesus. What a bastard. It's going to be a short night if this is still being a problem. Well, we'll read another one from the one book that has loaded. This is Virgin Prairie. Laying straight and still, staring down at rivulets filled with flattened cicada shells, waiting at dusk, watching people across the field try and weave a blanket from ashes, matted branches, and damp grass. But I barely care. I am distracted by voices echoing over the horizon. Voices I listened so hard to. One sounded like a melting telephone. One sang like typewriter keys. Another rang like a confused bluebird and is since locked in my memory. I tried to find where on the prairie I could sleep. At daybreak, I was woken up by voices that waved in the air like film projected on fog, voices that hovered like an underexposure on a robin's wing. I searched my thoughts, hoping to realize which voices I took for granted, the ones that only appear every other year. I got lazy and lost intervals of hours staring at the sun circling in the sky. I got confused and gave incorrect directions to a couple of asking backpackers. I got angry about heredity and when carelessness intertwines with chronology. I could not control my shaking limbs or the cold sweat on my forehead. I needed to tend to my health. I needed to walk steadily without help. I needed to make a fire and learn to stop time. I needed to be the watch one has to wind. Okay. At this point, I even wonder how much of this is actually going out live. Because, oh, shit, okay. So, yeah, we shall see. It's very annoying. So, is everything down? Yep. All right. This might just be a gigantic fucking waste of time. this is a fucking waste of time because nothing's working. Wow. It is truly extraordinary that it is truly extraordinary the lack of which this is working. It's not working on my phone. All right, well, we might just wrap this fucking turkey up. Sorry for wasting all of your time. Sorry that. Yeah. What a fucking waste. An absolute waste. It's disgusting. Just disgusting. So I do have one idea. Because either way, I have time to fill this evening. So I am going to execute this other idea. So there's going to be some radio silence and some dead air, but I'm sure you can handle that. Sure, all mature people who can deal with that. So I will be back. All right. So this is a methodology that I've never used, but the posting site where all of my books are posted is apparently not functioning. So we are going to do this in the clunkiest, stupidest way possible. So away we go. All right. We walk by each other on the street. You do not speak. I can see you have no ambition. You can see I have no standards. I do not speak. We are equals. We are parallel. I've seen you in the water. You've seen me in a dream. You never eat. I never sleep. Your head, bend your neck, tiny flowers pressed to your chest. We walk by each other on the street, never met, but there's still a blink of recognition. We enter the plane. We're flying over England, viewing from behind the wings, seeing St. George's Cross spread over the aisles to the carriage of the Queen. It's a conspiracy. It's a conspiracy? 35 millimeter slow motion shot of Bernini's St. Longinus. Who wrapped it round and hung the wires that had been laid at the feet of the empire? Who picked up that call? Ever read those books in the basement? We walk by each other on the street. We don't know each other. We do not speak. I roll my eyes and you repeat the conversation from a passing taxi. It's a conspiracy? It's a conspiracy. Your family had donated a house to the National Trust, and are those your cards on the nightstand? Is that your glass of wine? Would you like some privacy? Blue-green, we are water-etching lines and rocks, running diagonal patterns on the face of the clock, blurring the note on the windscreen, a pristine, steady stream, or drops from the sky echoing to your mouth. And you need to ask, wondering like your feet are on fire and these are your first steps into the bath, a murmur, a moan, and you need to ask, ever write the unread sentence? Did you walk around in Oxford? Ever feel the fog touch your curled hair in the everlasting afternoon? All my dreams, all my dreams, all my dreams are in blue and green. The herring was red. I sleep on a purple bed with fresh white sheets. It's a conspiracy. With a wink of complicity, I can slip right in an inside improvisation. No, a pantomime playing at the Museum of the Mind. It's easy, it's instant, it's open if you want it, and I want in. Does it diverge from memory? It's a conspiracy. Did the blue dog climb your stairs? What kind of candy was it? What did you take? Was it dark chocolate-covered cherries? It's a conspiracy. Like the lilting willow, when we walk from window to window, we don't know each other. The tempered glass is salt water in our hands. I think I need to give thanks. I think I see a lantern you're holding out of the ground and more like the weeping wall curled into a ball and newly resolved. It damn sure ain't a pantomime. It's a mystery. It's a conspiracy. Ever swing on the gutter like a vine? Ever fly over the jungle in a silver plane and see it wet with rain? Did you ever sing that song the lyricist couldn't find the words for, but had a flowing melody more uplifting than Near My God to Thee? No crying tonight, and you think it's a conspiracy? Ever wear the colorblind red? Ever read the unwritten sentence? Ever wear the colorblind red? We walk by each other on the street. You've seen me. I don't know you. We do not speak. There's an open hand above your head, but it's an optical illusion from the clouds without sound. It's your secret to keep. It's a conspiracy. Was that you on the balcony? What did he say? The painting there. Did you find it confusing? Think it lacks meaning? But look, right to left, not center down. It's all one scene. Do you see it now? It's a conspiracy. Hey, Gregory, we got ways of getting people to talk, too. But who can be bothered to listen when you could bite your lip and tap your fingernails on the scissors? Who wants to listen when they ain't? You know, it's a conspiracy. Yes, you hurt me and made me admit your moment, your Pyrrhic victory. Can I have this dance? It's a conspiracy. We walk by each other on the street, we see each other, and we don't speak. Your fingernails are blue, your lipstick is green, the leather on your boots is frayed at the seams. I know that in your dreams you're still 15, with a stolen cigarette you nicked from the vending machine. Your lung branches are soaked and your bubble perm is falling fast, and wouldn't it be funny if your interior life from now on is just this moment endlessly repeating, same photograph on the wall, mistaken for a mirror, and you can identify, you can empathize, but you can't know what on earth we see each other on the street. Duke Ellington, East St. Louis plays the theme, Cast Iron Boat. Sterling Silver Symphony. We don't know each other. We start to speak, but it's drowned out by the man with the loudspeaker and the papers proselytizing his religious beliefs. It's like we're curators. Caretakers for something we never saw, never knew, but understand purely on instinct and instant assimilation. Empathy, ecstasy, impressions of the senses. We are the examples. It is ours. To not let the charted land that gives us food to eat and water to drink, a place to walk and live, vanish in clouds, or become such a stranger that we're only hearing clashing tongues, and react with a stance that turns wretched, frozen, and cavalier. We will reach and remain unlabeled, walk free in the community, fly over and under unanimity. We are examples. We trace the dim signal. We will remain enthralled and observe the entrance and relics with rituals without. Then he used to kiss her often on her. When you talk to the clouds, can you? When you talk to yourself, fathers, mothers, 7 flowers on 7 stars on the chest of the Creator, we realize what is within and outside of us, what's invisible to the eye and eludes our touch. We understand the light inside the image obscures the image inside the light. The red and blue, the blue and green. You never sleep. We see you dream. It's a conspiracy. Someone said to me, you see a chair as it is, but when you burn the chair, you see that chair in your head did not burn or disappear. I see you on the street. You walk forward and you ask me about the play I'm staging or film you're making. You know, definitely it has 7 scenes. I wouldn't know about that. I'm not into numerology. Surely you're joking. Is it improvised or have you been rehearsing? Are all your actors established? We're not anonymous, but it's all true. All done in secret, and we might just not let in an audience. We will walk out of the auditorium in absolute quiet, single file, with a hidden illicit recording to prove it was a staged event. Motor oil on a block of ice, river of fire where a miracle was denied. She who would not open her kitchen but later passed the sentence on the wall, pointed at the words, and said, "That's not my opinion." Pastor Corbett asked, "Then why did you accept the call?" Filtered water poured carefully on top of a block of ice and seeping down the slanted floor slowly toward the recording device, from whom no secrets are hid. I'll believe this one thing even if the rest of the list is lies, until we crystallize. Straight to heaven. Loretta's address scrawled in the back of the book of names, crossed out and replaced with a charcoal drawing from a cave. It's a conspiracy, just like those articles she never read, because the editors said they were written without beginning or end. It's a conspiracy? Of course. They're sitting in a circle, a celebration among friends, sharing your favorite passages out of a blank book, closed circle making notations on the pages with a candle wick. The chandelier hangs beautifully, laughter sparkles, and the champagne from the cellar under the cellar is free. Yes, it is a conspiracy. You walked in, I woke up. We were docked outside Oyster Bay on a mutual friend's houseboat. You arranged the table, gave a long look, and said, I'll give you good reason to take away my right to vote. We see each other on the street, eyes looking at the stoplight intently and drinking coffee that smells like crayons. A guy next to me on his iPhone reads, intimations of infidelity were a red herring. Me and the guy selling Streetwise laugh at his timing. Must be a counselor, apparently, or a confidence man, or a trial lawyer playing fast and forgetful with the facts, or a city planner changing his mind with a passing glance. We're walking out of Preston, zipping up your leather jacket. When you say you laid nude with your adversary, I asked how it happened. You accepted the invitation, met in the garden, rested your heads on the stone wall that runs the perimeter. Did you pay rapt attention when the nightingale told his fairy tale? Did you ache in the silent seconds of the confession? You see me on the street, I see what's in your hands. Our eyes do not meet as people walk out of Walgreens. You ask, did you pray for those who spitefully use you and persecute you? Do you bless those who curse you? I'll tell you this. It's a conspiracy. The morning mass was busy ignoring any message that wasn't theirs. It's a conspiracy? Was that a sneer? We know. She was standing on a corner in South London underneath a red umbrella on a sunny day, glass necklace and a gold waist chain. Do you have a title? Yeah, I do, but I can't tell you. Why ever can't you tell me your title? Because it is pre-verbal. Look, can I take what I need? Please. I said to her, she said, I'm your sister, and you just don't know it. Not a martyr, a seer, not an abandoned spirit. Is this Don Giovanni? It's a conspiracy. I hailed a limousine. We walk by each other on the street. We've never met. I know what kind of fruit you eat. I have no ambition. You're trying to get my attention by throwing a flag on the feet of the gentleman delivering a block of marbled meat with a business card tucked neatly in the wrapping, 7 numbers in blue ink over the lettering. Did you count the columns around the building? 34 in a perfect circle. Ever been up to the top floor, skip school one morning, and take the tour? We walk by each other on the street. You're carrying a painting. We won't speak. I don't sleep. You cannot dream. You walk up to the white door and wait for access. You left a book on your desk. The cover was worn and the binding was torn, but you like the questions it asks. Razor cuts. How many songs can you sing in the sun? How long is the transmission? 7 flowers on your chest. It's not for lack of trying. It's a conspiracy. You walked in an oval. You thought over each permutation of the images meeting. You looked through the stainless steel window and down to the streets. Then you looked at me. It's a question of genealogy? We see each other. We do not speak. The question. They looked at you. You looked at me. It's a conspiracy. And now, hope you liked that one, everyone. How y'all doing out there? Is anyone even watching this? We do this because it is the work that needs to be done. This is called Silver Lace. Oh, actually, no, I don't want to. I'm not going to read Silver Lace. I apologize for wasting your time. Apparently, I scrolled too far. So this is the other problem with rating it. Jesus fucking Christ. What else is going to happen? Is like a fucking marching band going to come stomping through? Fucking hell. Okay, this is what I wanted to read. See, you see why I don't do it this way. There's a lot of casting about. Anyway, this is called A Moderate Man. I went walking through the morning to enjoy the autumn air, and I came upon a clearing. Some folk from in town greeted me graciously. As they stood waiting, Frank then strode into the center of the circle with 3 men by his side. Frank abruptly unfolded his note and started speaking. The 3 men reshaped in a line behind Frank as his inimitable voice intoned, "Men in masks shall not live on your land, for they are cowards whose spirits are trapped. Thou art born without caste. Your soul is unshared, and judgment shall not be passed or carried out by committee on your quiet acts." Frank, flanked by the 3 men, then swiftly left while the crowd collectively shuddered, and there were mutterings of, "What Frank giveth doth not equal what he takes, hard foul eyes of a snake, words of an apostate." I followed the trail back to my home whilst conversing with Pastor Corbett. Upon reaching my front gate, he looked me square in the eye and said, "Just because I am prone to help my neighbor in good faith, family or friend, that doth not make." Now maybe we will do Silver Lace. Never let it be said that the book won't be read or that the candlesticks will be thrown out. That's like asking about your blankets and what became of them. Were they left in an alley or boxed and lent to a friend? Never let it be said that the chickens won't get fed or that the evening coffee will run cold. That's like thinking the traffic lights will never turn red or that the wire will run out before you get to return home. I'm looking at a book of photographs by Robert Frank, size cut in half. Some maps people never thought to make, some paths people never thought to take. When Berkeley was originally settled, the center of town was marked with a church and a bank. Some people never think to give thanks, or wonder if they may be wrong. I still have the cassette you made, decorated with black magic marker and duct tape, though the sound cuts off in half the songs. Never let it be said that your sister will stay unwed, or that the scissors are no longer sharpened. That's like thinking the sun never outshine the moon, or that the heat of the spring only lives in the swell of the afternoon. All right, let's see if we can do this again. This, again, the way that I was doing this before is not how I like it. And again, it really screws up the timing and rhythm of these sorts of things. And I want to be able to move gracefully, not fucking waste time. Though, obviously, a lot of time is being wasted. The connection is a little bit better than it was before, but it's still not fucking great. Alright. The hell with that. We're gonna do it we're gonna keep doing this the clunky, stupid way. Said it's clunky and stupid. We'll be there any minute. we're jetting to the scene. I woke up, startled, and trying to recall the dream I had just finished. I opened the blinds in my bedroom and peered at the granite sky and made makeshift memories of people I knew who didn't live past 18. Where should I go tonight? Do I feel like dealing with them? 4 a.m. makes its only pulse with promises of the Euphrates River and drag queens who will take the time to slow dance. In an instant, I visualized that dream as I lay underneath the bunk beds, even though I was an only child. Appendages slid from the wall and hung over me, and now it takes me 4 hours to go to sleep. Fly in the clouds, slightly above your childish tooth scar, hush scuffling hands broken, and a knock to remind popsicle stains, corroded sugar dirt, and life fiber instincts. To the stars, and crash it away to search for the reinvention, to answer for the millennium. Man will stand for what he's done. When mythology folds and the blocked visions rush past and reclaim their rightful place. Dark spirals fly over static phone lines. How can you be coherent when you don't even want to leave the house? I don't want to give you the impression that I'm desperate or searching for anything, or just that I want to be your best friend that can slip out the back door. She was a child bride, an angel wrapped in bedsheets and a nightingale trapped in the undertow. I could never feel safe around her because I always felt that she was getting ready to leave me. She was a child bride, the last runaround of my stupidity, the most graceful vision of beauty that I've ever seen. One of my friends wrote that everything is a symbol, but I had to say that he's wrong. Everything is political. Mother, your love to me is obligated. Your love is like a syringe shooting obsessive attendant religion into me. I miss your cold hands in my bathwater. You never watch me sleep anymore, and I wring my arms equally at the thought of obeying and defying you. Mother, it's arrogant to say that you know God's way and to risk my soul on it. I don't want to live with the guilt complex that the only son of man died for me because it makes God come off like a tedious stepdad that has to forever beg for respect from his inherited children. Mother, your cut glass campaigning repels me, and the subtle innuendos and allusions make me disbelieve every word you say. Everything is political glitter, like the tinsel and bells and sprayed snow hanging off the plastic Christmas trees in the dining room. Political glitter, like a jigsaw puzzle with a broken frame. Political glitter, like a peace treaty ratified on the chest of a hooker. Lunatic archangel writhing madly on the floor. A lunatic messenger dragging on a cigarette, feeling the blackened edges of a psychotic afterburn. A lunatic tramp stung on turpentine and suffering from rotting bone marrow. Lunatic clones in a line of succession, shrieking about their bloodshot hearts and decayed embryos. An elegy at the funeral service, where the urn was placed next to ripped-out pages from Siddhartha. I opened my mouth to try and make an orchestra come out, but all I'm stuck with are words trapped on slivers of tape. But I don't believe that, and I don't want to believe that, because that means I've been wrong the whole time when I keep getting proved right, because it means that the universe has a finite number and that temptation can push us anywhere it wants. Do you believe in love at first sight? Do you believe in intuition and romantic video screens that play tape loops of your imagination? Do you believe that everything you ever wanted is alive inside your head? Or that religion is just a hoax to keep you from touching your eyes? I believe in soul explosions that dart into every universe until some attention is finally paid to it. Sometimes talking to people is just like acting. The thunder makes crystal cracks and opens up the sky. The violence of it is so beautiful, and I lay on top of my bed, wondering why I can't feel safe, and hoping the lightning will whip the entire galaxy into one pulsing electric light. I haven't found you yet, but I don't doubt I will. No, I don't doubt I will. I'm going to do another one from this. The one I haven't done in a long time. He got in the car just to drive away. It was 80s night on the radio, and he felt his eyelids quiver from the thoughts left in them. He always wanted to go out with one of the older kids, and he sped past her house to remind himself the whole thing wasn't fiction. He had to chew on tablets of ephedrine just to stay awake. As he careened down a one-lane town, the clock read 2:14 a.m. Name another place where you don't have to worry about the cum on your coat from the guy in back of you on the bus, or the weekend in Boys Town where you lost all your money, where you can die for the 50 stars and still get reborn, where you can vomit on someone else's tonsils and still go home with them for the night. And you know that when you got a dime bag in your lap and you can drive the service entrance to paradise, it's not a privilege, it's a birthright. He was always fascinated by the kids a few years older who looked coked up by the age of 13. The news came from Washington. He had a fantasy that he kept kissing her on her forehead. Oliver North had been acquitted and Fawn Hall wasn't to blame, just like when they arrested Manuel Noriega because he wouldn't pay cash for the shipping costs of all his cocaine. He pulled into Super K for some Coca-Cola and saluted the limp American flag on the way in. Rolling Stone had Bruce Springsteen on the cover, and he felt like he had razor blades inside his stomach. Somehow everyone felt let down by the Gulf War. It wasn't as bloody as My Lai. It wasn't as funny as Grenada. And, certain types of people weren't bombed in the process. The commodities and golden parachutes kept all the middle management well liquored up by the time Bush was giving his resignation speech. Voodoo economics and the crack epidemic sometimes made you wish that Nixon had been right all along, but this never seemed to bother him, and the national debt never meant shit to any decent citizens, especially not the kids who saw Heathers when it was still in the theaters. He got off the phone with one of his friends who complained that crack smoking was just a quote-unquote cheap ghetto high. The erythromycin was fucking up his liver, but at least it kept the acne off. He read a book about Charles Manson and figured the only difference between him and Nixon was a few years in jail and a copy of the White Album. But the thought of Squeaky or Sadie dressed in their black capes creepy crawling into someone's house was still freaky enough to keep him sleeping out on the couch. That night he had a horrible dream. Eric Estrada was hosting a beauty pageant at the Playboy Mansion featuring categories like worst facelift and most fucked up tit job. But he couldn't walk away from the spectacle of it all. All he could do was slug down a bottle of Thunderbird and cradle a hard-on while slobbering, "I do believe I'm ready for the Playboy Mansion. I want to see Hef. Open up those goddamn gates." He woke up before the former First Lady wet t-shirt contest and ran to his car in horror. That might be real now. He flicked on the ignition and forced in a homemade tape, and while joy and pain leaked out, he thought about how much he hated those old political arguments he heard, that individuals are symptomatic of a sicker society. He came upon Super K, the great beacon for people who are lonely and cheap, and admired its neon beauty against the black backdrop sky. He was looking sideways and feeling sick about what was smothering the rest of the land. Strip mall upon strip mall, grids and rows of anonymous stores. He thought about how all this used to be a beautiful forest, and how disgusting it was that every developer was using their own lunch hooks to get a portion of the profits. He felt his stomach tighten from the thought of another obese teen selling Swatch watches and sunglasses, but then he turned his head forward, away from the strip mall, and saw nothing but outstretched lanes of tree branches and unpainted roads, and he knew that he was getting ready to go home. Is anyone fucking watching this? Probably not. That's okay. You know, it's all about, again, we do the work. This might be stupid. Hello? All right. They were calling to say that the power's been restored. These things, so again, also the other problem with this is the formatting is just extraordinarily bizarre. That's the other reason I don't like doing this reading the way that I'm currently doing it. All right, this is called The Needles. The dock 70 feet in back of me as the sun rotated into the cloudless mid-sky. I saw You should keep my letter so that it serves as a reminder carved into a 16-foot long block of pink limestone. In front of me was a sea of black hair and white fabric. A man in iguana-colored boots was a private parade. The air was damp and smelled like salty sediment. A sandpiper coughed into my ear. In prior decades, this would have been a confined testing environment stacked with medical supplies and sterilized instruments, while bleached cotton strips turned the skin around my nails lighter. Pried out of the wilderness of incestuous dreams, ripped posters of unreliable oral histories. Deer curled up in sandy, shallow puddles, trails of red ants eating holes through discarded cabbage. Soft green eyes undress uniforms before entrance into a former Methodist church with baby blue walls and royal blue sacristy doors. Reptile eggs eaten by a small group of women, who then wash their hands in citrus-saturated water and wrap their fingers with copper wire. And a monument at dusk surrounded by silence, outlined with jagged stones and chipped jewelry. Fox hunters riding by, with a new hound who they yell at and threaten to whip as each of its tentative selections are rejected. The Lord Mayor's houses built to buttress against resistant forces, all amid a slow, swollen syrup that pools and then runs downhill to the mad-made lake. Unobstructed view and pristine wings, piercing siren, as though it was a current or a call to worship. A chalice filled with tarantulas, a flagpole wavering in its stand, chickens' eyes rolling sideways as they travel at unnatural speeds, cigarette smoke blown into a bowl of strawberries, fingerprints left in wet paint, fresh milk pumped from each breast. My friend who can foresee pregnancy and electricity through a wall has their moods move like montages in a film. My friend without terminology, whose nature is a catapult, who can walk through a maze without a fever. My friend who finds destiny dancing on purple and pink nights with dirt around their ankles. From the upper window, I witnessed a slow splintering of demonic demonstrations. In my right hand were coins together. On my feet were shoes of another, as I checked the tags on my clothes to learn my identity. Through the upper window across 7 streets into the parking lot where disused missiles decompose, diagonal gold and gray roads sprayed clean of tar and debris. Low-flying planes obscure the upper window, where a virginity pageant marches from the shower and concludes with forearms rested on the top rung of a ladder. Breathless dizziness, reading large handmade maps, desperate for hydrogen, dull bulbs and shovels, eyes closed for hours. All deaths are a cataclysm. Rinse the plaque from your mouth. Cut long muslin swaths and give them away. All deaths are a cataclysm. Rinse the cement. Don't try to trace ghosts. All deaths are a cataclysm, and what stands are bloody trees deciphering the wordless moans. The invisible dust falling on a table in the woods, swept away in haste. The invisible dust falling on a chain-link fence at the border, wafted away before it rusts. The invisible threads roving around nurses' legs while administering instructions to infants. The invisible threads coursing through fibrous recall. Innocence is wasted on the inexperienced. Each speck is an unnoticed city, an English symmetrical opening. Each strand is a bird on the river in a King's Indian defense. Wax seal stamps poured onto a clock while its mechanisms start surging and go into unpaved adjacent highways and remember. Remember for the benefit of whom? The sermon restated to sleeping citizens weary from work. Remember for the benefit of whom? A lion in a tent, gnashing the last of its dinner. Remember for the benefit of whom? A slouching passive general, inept at telling a catalog from blueprints. Protective exoskeleton, exclusive phone booth opposite the swimming pool in a home in Beverly Hills, constructed in the late 40s. Watery exoskeleton, fluttering drama as the mounted trophies change colors when passing trains sound their whistles. Sensory exoskeleton, in parks of dewy, gently curved hills, designed by anxious architects to absorb all tastes and scents. No one reaction or army of thought, no weaning or well-meaning practice can smudge or even expunge the unadorned evidence in the immeasurable elements. And now, a grasp toward a cataract of menstruation, stored in a triptych of cases. Tender veils lift lightly in the breeze, briefly betraying the horse's forward focus. Confirmed miracles in the dial tones droning from underneath the unexplored aisles. A cherry, a maiden, a cup. And I lay down for now, hopeful the parcels I sent arrive on time. See, I had thought that perhaps... Nope. Interesting. Again, we will see how... We'll see how this is doing. It'd be really cool if this actually loaded up. All right, cool. Well, we will do cruelty-free heroin. When the Guardian goes mad, the sun rains against their eardrums, indistinguishable from Morse code tapping on a copper plate. Yes, when the Guardian has gone mad, they're found singing love songs to tanks, draping staircases in flags, breaking car windows to decorate their faces with the glass. When the Guardian goes mad, they're captured pushing a pickaxe into an LED screen and detained for threatening to throw snakes at gas station attendants. When the Guardian goes mad, people suddenly remember to turn on AM radio and patiently follow guidelines before filing a full report. Though there are always doubters and passers-by who start conspiracy theories, the usual that this was be a planned distraction. If the Guardian goes mad, they'll arrive at every awards ceremony with a mirror in hand and a ribbon under their chin and make demands to review the voting process when they don't win. If the Guardian goes mad, they'll rue the day they lost control of their relationships, spending weeks hiring staff to bury paperwork they'll insist doesn't exist. If the Guardian goes mad, all their meals shall consist of orange peels pulled from chain link fences and burned coffee flavored with molded peach preserves. Though there are always doubters ready to offer an opinion of unverifiable proof, summarizing that death and maps are the only real measures of impact. Can you imagine being that fucking sick? If the Guardian cracks up, they'll spend bleak days envisioning trees committing suicide, grandmothers doing crystal meth for the first time, and gnats smeared into toothpaste. If the Guardian cracks up, 7 strangers stuck in a bank will claw at each other to seek cold air in the vault and wait for their families and firemen to arrive and dig them out. If the Guardian cracks up, pirates will walk their own planks and devour themselves once they hit the water, thrashing back at their gnashing teeth, running the seas red until hunter and prey are finally won. Ignorance. Arrogance. The pest control man said unto me, when I was in Japan, I bought cherry bread in a can. I opened it with a knife and slid off the wrapper. The air bubbles stayed floating in my mouth, and I rolled them around until I returned back to the West. Bliss, tolerance. The pest control man said unto me, sometimes my apartment building turns into a vending machine, and I get deposited into the evening to provide goods and services for lucky couples with good taste and a few wandering dollars to rub together. Perhaps I'm being too ambitious with this, but the connection looks like it's much better, so I think I can do this. need to go back. We will. Let's rock. This is called No More Burlesque. Extraction. Thin metal claws and clips like feelers on a hair sliced down the middle and carefully pulled off a list. Discipline, resist. The reading poison of thoughts extemporized and swept from a dingy mind, the mind articulated in plagiarists' terms. My grandfather is sick, and guilt projected onto a thrusted hand, silently implying a demand of satisfaction, and the water in the pipes runs dry rust, and the oil in the plane siphoned and given to the next contributor, prevented by disintegrating mortar. The wall was raised, the field free for plowing. An entry for the enfant terrible, a minuscule crack in the porcelain, a micropoint pried open with a petulant eye roll appealing to youth fetishists and the prematurely decaying while wearing a prostitution ring, a scarlet A seen by anyone who can decipher semaphore flags, making tenuous connections, creating dubious self-advertisements, a popular indie label, a writer from Vice, a music video stealing your image after you've stolen your image from an anonymous army of American Apparel models, and a sub-Wes Anderson vision of a sub-Anna Karenina. Now I'll be a star forever. Margot, don't go to Olympia, or Lacey or Renton, Anacourt, Tacoma, or Bellingham. You will be wholly inessential. You'll taint the water supply, pollute the soil. You'll delete the telepathy, end all conversations, erase all electricity, cease all levity, make joy obsolete. The sum total, with your floating, dead-eyed anime mask face, an omnipresent reminder of the rotten apple making no fun for everyone. Margot, don't go to Olympia, because you need to learn the life lesson that no matter if it's London, Brisbane, Tokyo, Los Angeles, Portland, Chicago, or Reno, your luggage will always keep arriving before you do. But I suppose we all know, Margot, that life lessons aren't easily applicable when you can be the singer that doesn't sing, the intellectual refusing to think, the Marxist, obsessive materialist who unironically writes, I love money, whose reactionary parents pay for college, clothes, and Mac makeup, which is still not enough to keep you from begging and complaining and nearly joining the military, still pretending that you're more rebellious than what you label progressives, still seeking to please the teacher, and such a solipsist that if the teacher doesn't play along, assumes that it must have something to do with your perceived unattractiveness, pleasureless yet still promiscuous, the hedonist who hates liberals, the liberated modern woman who longs to be subservient and find a wealthy man who will dominate, the mental patient who insists there is no such thing as the subconscious, and the awkward loner who thinks individuals are the insidious construct of anti-collectivist capitalists. Property is robbery is the tripe slogan of someone who has only existed without responsibility, without any self-possessed honesty, with no depth backing the grandstanding. Margot, see what you find in Sri Lanka. Margot, see where I grew up in Cicero, and tell the Lamarcas that property is robbery. Tell Mima driving home from the factory that property is robbery. You delusional fool. Property is her way out of drudgery, her ticket past the line of indentured servitude. Without owning the building, you have people who are easily organized and cut off from access. The human experiment called the projects. And it's impossible for you to think beyond your anorexic context, and in your mind disagreement means judgment, and surely there's nothing worse than that. In your mind, disagreement creates a scale ranging between misogynist and apologist, which is perfect since you also love to disparage feminists, insisting on women being more demure and stylish. And while I'm at it, isn't it always an ist, or at least an ism in your mind? Everything neatly categorized, all thoughts and emotions compartmentalized. Margot, at the center of you is abuse, everything you've ignored, informed by the suspicion that for you, life is impacted internment, despite your outfit's ability to execute your whims and negate people who don't fit into your trends. You have no freedom, and I doubt you can know release. I've heard you say, I hate art. Well, Margot, art dreads you, and I look forward to my suspicions being true that you've become a sullen trophy wife, staving off boredom by blocking websites on the school council, banning books, or silently voting for abstinence-only sex education. Margot, you are the misinformed, manipulated manifestation of everything expressed by punk fashion shows and Vampire Weekend. And your own words you erase clear off the page, making you yourself the voiceless, unable to raise the questions, too choked to face the stage, wasteful, self-induced inability to articulate your age. No more burlesque. Someone. Waterfalls. Forced sympathy. Enervating congratulation. Botox breakfast. Moon fruit. No more burlesque. An offer of silence. A measure of sanity. A reasonable sense of control, because it hasn't been earned. And the wires will burn and the lights will freeze. No more burlesque. Moonflesh, playing harp, dancing a rewritten ballet, speaking with the sadhu and sharing information, circle in circle in a city park. I walked by her once in a line. She was shocked to recognize me. I was all too happy to dodge the people who I'd arrived with, the months before someone hits the record button. No more burlesque. The order will be determined because in a sense it already is determined. Like the milk in the glass and the honey on the shelf underneath, the fruit on the trees grows naturally. Without any help, if anything, it would be an interruption. Audrey, the amateur farmer, painting class teacher, and occasional mother, when the notion takes her, and the weather suits her. Changing names every other month, adopting identities from the television. Domination, strutting across a runway. Starvation, the poise to retain a pose. Lactation, the unwinding knitting needles, the steel front door, the stream from the bus stop to the vault floor, giggling. The technology, the ability, the enabling slipping sleep that punches the feathers and exclaims exhalations, the empathy, the stage of photographs and writings like an unintentional confessional or a catharsis without further ramifications or reasons, understanding by proxy, a community of torsos, hand claps, and assumed nom de plumes, a convergence of compulsions that folks get very defensive about if you mention their distractions. The humidity got lost in the flurry to uproot the cacti and build rectangles of oak trees so Mrs. Meredith can have her begonia patch, sprinkle a little can of water, and adjust her little straw hat, and adopt a section of wall and elect a man to speak on her behalf, to pester the county board, to get a nice sign to let the public know that these are her wishes, her designations, a living will, making clear all her intentions. A wall behind her gate is sleek and strong and tall. The fence in front of that has a moat, and behind that an outdoor kill floor with a 30-foot fall, and the air just keeps flowing. It's imperceptible to trace when someone walks up, knocks 3 times, and says, "Hey, where's the bobcats on the roof? Don't they claw your roof? Had a hell of a damn time getting rid of them." And your back gets soaked with sweat just from walking to the car in the parking lot, just from hiking the kid onto the swing at the park, and the stale breeze through the backyard wind chimes is a whistling. On another continent, in a retirement community, grandmother asks granddaughter what she thinks. "It's okay," is the response. Taking English at university, unwilling to get a proper job because any earned wages would get absorbed by bus fare, clothing updates, and hygiene upkeep. Yes, I am a thief of thoughts, and I cannot save a salary or be a parent or uphold any promises I made when I was only trying to leave the room unnoticed. A new apartment, walking to the fitness center, portfolio for the agency. She listens to a lecture about sexual repression, guys who refuse to perform certain acts, selfishness, stupidity. She fumes and thinks about her boorish ex-boyfriends. No excitement, no thrill, just expectations and obligations. Directions to lay still, playing upon guilt, making her feel responsible, intimating that she's lucky, subtle self-containment, and a status quo of self-consciousness, always doubting, never questioning. Even worse was the guy who treated each orgasm as an Olympic medal, a competition of one that he kept winning. He couldn't understand how condescending he was when he held her head and said she should attempt speaking without speaking, saying it without saying it, critiquing her interests as outre, keeping an instant signal while allowing her transmission a 5-second delay. You can paint it in the corners, but seriously, don't touch the frame. She sends packages containing chocolate and tea, handwritten notes, and a photo of herself laughing. She edits the scene, disregards the magazine, reverses the reflection, and resumes exercising. Two sisters, Morella and Anna, came from Bucharest, living in Stoke-on-Trent, looking to move to Maidstone, both annoyed at the neighbor above who just keeps blaring Manel. It's just not good music. Anna laughs to Morella. Anna leaves to work at the hotel. Morella wishes she had a Bichon to keep herself company when her sister isn't around. The only time they argue is about where to go after they've left England. Morella wants America, while Anna has her heart set on Australia. Though they each know they have time to create their future, Anna has 4 more courses before she becomes a teacher. They made a portrait together for their mother, a large abstract with cherry blossoms in the center. Gave it to her for her birthday. A turtle in the bottom corner, and a small frog in a stunning shade of purple, a silver bridge, and small clips of pictures taken from a legend Cheltenham. Your panic, how quaint. Your pretension, of course. Who else could correct an Israeli anarchist and tell them they should label themselves differently to more broadly appeal to American tourists? Your temper tantrums are no longer a surprise, and only you could spend New Year's Day looking at the skies to see if they might be falling. Certainly would make things easier, and that's one way you won't lose your pension. The same thing as being convinced exerting absolute control will keep everyone's attention. No more burlesque. Promises of gifts that still haven't been sent. Details about plans that never get set. Figments of fancy best left undressed. No more burlesque. And archetype equals inactive symbols, flawed perception colored with arrogant concision, disguised as discerning eloquence, the eagle in flight, the documents in sight, the steps gleaming white, a push broom, a toothbrush, and a chunk of ginger, the connection fizzing, the wheel spinning, the request is sitting on my desk. I was born in the Midwest, and I come from miners on both sides of my family. My aunt saw Buddy Holly at the winter dance in Eau Claire, Wisconsin. I'm willing to speak as I've almost always been, willing to hear a point of view and consider that person at least an acquaintance. And I met with the ghosts of Joe Hill and Tom Paine, and I got asked, "Who are you trying to impress?" No one was the response. Do you ever ask that of others? Not yet, but it seems to make more sense than most of these questions. My father's mother told me something that left an indelible impression. If there's you and another person, and there's a flag 200 feet in front of you, and it's understood that whoever gets the flag first wins, you've already won no matter if you get the flag first, walk backwards, go around in a circle, or stand stock still. The reason is that person defines themselves by someone else's pre-existing standards, and if you don't define yourself at all, it makes no matter if they get the flag or not. They are still a slave to it, and you are free to be anywhere. What if this person doesn't define themselves by such things? That's when you've found a friend. Anything else then? All things is all things? Yes, don't forget, there's no such thing as degrees of freedom. You are either free or you are a slave. And if you are a slave, you have to find out who you are a slave to and why. So, I vote in elections and obey traffic laws, show up on time, and use linear language. I don't feel the need to abandon it because it's more involved than numbers in a sequence, where the structure meets the discipline, where the structure becomes a code to copy and apply, to open areas and determined forms, where open areas become a discipline, to reach a decision, to walk or not walk the trail, where the discipline meets destiny, in the day-to-day, in the ones and zeros, in the world of shadows, which new patterns of light puncture and reconfigure the architecture, rebuilds the infrastructure. So if a man puts a stage on a landmark and gets behind a microphone and says he's restoring order, you know that he's a liar. And if he says he's restoring honor, well, I don't know, but I don't think Martin Luther King had corporate sponsors. And that man can't possibly mean honor for all, just a sect, a handful of investors, and a network of supporters and constituents, a series of groups with acronyms for names, a confluence of systems that hopes to cover enough for you to find something to embrace about it. And I found them last night, barking directives, spray painting the snow with enormous orange-pink letters, and I waited until they left, and I went out there with a shovel and cleared the way, swept off the slush, chopped the ice, and made a path, And by the next morning their message had melted into a soggy mess, and my neighbors had cleared a walkway as well, and we spoke about the town charter, the aqueducts, and the phone number for a good roofer. Then my wife and I went to the market to buy food for dinner, and there were no wings on the streets, no distractions, just 3 teenagers, 1 boy, 2 girls, standing in front of the library starting to sing. I looked at their body language and clothes, and I tapped my wife's elbow and said, "That kind of reminds me of me when I was that old. Well, good luck to them." We waved, she started smiling, and we made up a new song of our own. Icicle stream, the white signal channeling, the clock measurements out in chalk on bricks, the stencil fit, the wall, the time signature increments, the birds, the fish, the deer pausing at the outer lip of the forest to avoid traffic. A dozen women walk together forwards and sideways, holding their keys, pens, and parking passes. They stand at the information centers and read the small typeface before proceeding. The railway, the conductor makes a joke, collects a ticket, dispenses change. The train streaks by, the storefront, and its new window display. The passenger turns abruptly to read what it has to say. Here's where it all comes together. In the eyebrow arch, the headmaster trickery, the tacit complicity, which leaks across silently. There is a bite mark that is ours. We were awake when it was happening. We excel at remembering. Evade the hunt. Confound and confuse them. Expose and release them. Free them. Evade the hunt. They did everything they could think of. Affixed you with a label. Forced what isn't legal. Evade the hunt. And when there are no rules, it's obvious who's responsible. There are no sides and there are no armies. This argument is an illusion, a pantomime, a presentation. Your breath is your breath. Your mind is your mind. Your life is your life. A circle wave. Your fingers and the flowers in the bowl of water spin around and reflect in the mirror, which sends back the light, and your eyes are your eyes, and your sight is your sight. There are no sides in life. In life. Y'all doing out there? It's called Allison with a blue sea and icebergs are. She's ice cream and let's start over, sorry. She's ice cream, and there she's down the hall. She uses words like everything and all. I can hear her, but I can't make out her features. I know she spends her weekends in a cement cinema making notes. The girl next to her tries to see what she wrote. Allison wonders why the guy in the elevator keeps glancing at her and why the weather keeps jumping between sun and rain every 30 minutes. She keeps saying, "Quit asking me questions, I'm innocent," as people assume she's joking. Allison wonders, what are the windows thinking on a day where there's a white line down the center of the sky? Her mind cuts back to the guy on the elevator with a quick, "Look at me, look at you, we're equals." Allison wonders if she can keep hiding while knowing they're following me. Allison writes, "What started as hopes are now observations, mostly about nature, and being young stops being fascinating once it's done." Allison looks at her bowl of spinach, and her eyes focus down on the details of one leaf, and she quietly speaks. An atheist sees this and can only think of the mud it grows from. Allison writes, "We extend grace out of our own sense of grace," and smiles because she's not sure if that's something of her own or something she's half remembering from 2 or 3 incarnations ago. Allison considers why her back and hands are so slippery when she's invisible, and then tells her sister, "My tongue is a graffiti sponge. I wonder if I'll have to make love in front of a judge." Allison considers that she's a character who looks and acts just like her, then draws a bath with the lights off. Allison invites her guests to walk barefoot while cherries and red confetti float out of her phone. Allison considers emptying cash registers if the security cameras lose power. But what she mostly wants are completely natural segues with no artificial blends. So, make thoughts your aim, or nerve blaming when all meet at your beginnings, but make allowances for their worn-out tools and make dreams a trap for fools after they are gone. It's called Dancing with the Skeleton Key. I'm dancing with the skeleton key in the grotto of a dilapidated... No. page didn't load correctly. We'll see if it loaded correctly now. Otherwise, we're not going to do that one. All right. You know what? Let's do something here. I'm dancing with the skeleton key pinned under my belt the night after I'd had two simultaneous dreams that occurred in ocular split screen. One where a white-tailed fawn galloped to the front door and another where my brother couldn't sleep. I'm dancing with the skeleton key tied on a twine cord around my neck, remembering when my sister was locked in a minivan and stranded in a parking lot outside of Austin. She kissed the windows and ate the tape in the cassette deck. I'm dancing with the skeleton key in my unopened mouth tucked behind my wisdom teeth and obscured by my tongue. I have memories that my sister still won't believe, and I miss the 20th century because it could have been so much better. I'm dancing with the skeleton key scotch taped to my arm. And when I was in school, the vice principal gave himself a heart condition trying to figure out who had stolen from the convenience store, then boasted about it on the blackboard. I'm dancing with the skeleton key in the grotto of a dilapidated Catholic church where the priest once confessed to me that after each funeral he performed, the only way he could raise his spirits was by making uneasy music with the organist. I'm dancing with the skeleton key concealed in an alley while bells chime at midnight near the railroad and kids with no curfew dodge between dashing headlights on their way to play hide-and-seek in the park. I'm dancing with a skeleton key laid out on the floor of a garage while my brother draws out diagrams on poster boards, connecting lines from consequences of thought to isolated islands of thinking divided by unintentional regression of actions. I'm dancing with the skeleton key while I'm safe at home, looking at sealed bags of clothes that I stopped wearing years ago while I was running for mayor on an unconfirmed platform of leaking information about the governor. I'm dancing with a skeleton key in an adjacent office because the evidence my brother uncovered just got delivered to the lawyer, and he predicts it will make the judge jump and remove any condemnation from his mouth. I'm dancing with a skeleton key in a strip mall that used to be a swimming pool, before that a man-made hill that covered a demilitarized waste trucked over from a Floridian base, and it will still take 100,000 years before any of it reaches its half-life. I'm dancing with a skeleton key clasped tightly in my hand as I watch my sister in the mirror speak sentences with one word and plant orchids next to power lines in the backyard. Then she dots the driveway with empty jars to accurately measure the rainfall. I'm dancing with a skeleton key in my pocket, moving loosely with me. My brother used to cry bitterly that our parents, every time he got a ticket, refuting each offense, denying he did any of it. I'm dancing with the skeleton key sliding uncomfortably in my shoe, but the nuisance helps give me the presence of mind to always hold up what I was taught, that when rent is due, it's better to be full and well slept than to hand over a blank check. I'm dancing with the skeleton key pressed into a book, watching leaves in the wind and a novelist at a press conference performing fake sign language, hoping it will get him the attention he wants for trying to revive the printed word. I'm gathering first impressions. The floor is red, her dress is white. I can picture her standing in a large glass filled with ice, reaching to reach the umbrella. To pull herself out, her hair is a yellow circle, and her hands are slightly curled, as if she's unsure if they should lay flat, or if she should be holding a prop. I'm gathering first impressions. He's standing in front of an ornately carved wood display. His hair is a rust-colored bubble. His smile beams from behind the cutout mouth of a translucent mask. He looks like he could be the mayor in a western, gleaming gold badge, neatly polished six-shooter, resting in his holster, ready to stare down the bad guy into obeying the law. I'm gathering first impressions. Her hair is a rosary made of rhinestone dust. Her pristine gloves suggest a list of items she'd refuse to touch. Her gown isn't in slow motion, nor for stiffened gestures sewn laboriously by dressmakers who clearly owed her favors. In the Industrial Revolution, she hunched over gaslights, armed with a penknife and a Bachstein Yardkey and Kaschel and Gackenstein.
I'm gathering first impressions. She tries to stand tall, but her shoulders defensively slouch. She's never Einstein before. She's the mother of the best actress winner taken to the Oscars as a gift for years of support. But untrusting of these flashing surroundings, there's a thinly stretched matriarchal smile, reassuring only to those who glance at her in passing. Well, it's easy for your mom to spend Friday trying to lecture the TV while half asleep, continuously saying, let it all breathe, when she's not the one out there braving the wind, trying to walk across that wing with just a 4-foot stick of balsa wood to help keep her balanced. The Tsar's personal physician put the head of surgery in bed and called the staff around and explained this could be the end, but he's not really certain because he's just been too depressed with the prospect. At least that's what you thought you said. But you were quite distracted by the kissing couple on the observation deck, and you got yelled at for sleeping during a meeting by the head of marketing, but you didn't feel any guilt. As you explained that you'd been sin-free since the night before, and the head of marketing agreed and closed the door and started to rub your shoulders and talk about her opportunities for advancement. And the private still cannot figure out how to break ranks or help your mom fill out a loan application or get a new sticker for her license plates. And the two of you prepare for their weekend leave by getting hair extensions and hitchhiking back to the hospital. You've been reading diaries, you've been reading autobiographies, you've been writing long treatises out on graph paper, you've been condescending to your enemies, you've been giving easy answers that argue there are no easy answers, you've been running forensics on untabulated statistics, you've been staring at a man buzzsawing down a tree thinking anyone could be. You've been miming in a marching band, not playing a single note all season. You've been looking at the apple in your hand, hoping to know how you'll find another, and you have also stolen mail from your mother. You've been looking at a fence thinking enough of this. You've been back to the hospital staying after hours in the maternity ward laying newly minted silver rectangles on newborn's chest. You've been counseling dry drunks. You're nearer to sovereignty and whoever picks apples for free. You've been painting large, unfinished arcs on your foyer walls while in expensive new clothes. You're nearer to sovereignty and whoever spreads apple seeds for free. You've been barefoot while feeding skunks. You've been seeing your reflection in cardboard. Let it all breathe is the reminder that you whisper to yourself when you're out walking across the wing, watching flotsam from Beechcraft Model A teams rotate overhead, amazed how machinery so heavy can defy gravity. Let it all breathe is the reminder that you whisper to yourself when you're out walking across the wing, watching jettison pollution floating in the Indian Ocean, in utter disbelief how the laws of nature can be defied so carelessly. You're a wing walker. Closer to sovereignty, closer to picking apples for free, closer to crashing the fence, closer to opening books. You're a wing walker trying to make a future full of stars while wishing you weren't feeling so far. You are a wing walker! You're a wing walker! Closer to spreading apple seeds for free, closer to sovereignty, closer to swimming naked, closer to learning languages. You're a wing walker, trying to make a future full of stars, wishing you weren't feeling so far. They found me, realistically resembling myself, and fully alive in a different year. Questions were drawn to determine how I appeared there. I explained that I went to sleep because I couldn't function being constantly awake. Theta waves turning back on themselves, spindle waves with no chance to crest, and slow waves never close to arriving. A wing walker craves immunity to maintain sovereignty, feeds on concentration to maintain sovereignty, and brushes memories to maintain sovereignty. Theta waves are just the start. Spindle waves stand you straight up. Slow waves safely deposit you back on the shore. A wing walker needs clear vision and to be free of poison. You have to know where to turn on the lights before you go to sleep. Go to sleep, go to sleep, go to sleep, go to sleep, go home and go to sleep. Go home and go to sleep. Go to sleep, go to sleep, go home and go to sleep. Go to sleep, go to sleep, go home and go to sleep. Go to sleep, go to sleep. Go to sleep. And that wraps up a completely absurd edition of the quarantine stream. We'll be back next week at 4:05 on Tuesday, folks. So, hang in there. God bless. Fuck the police. All that. Just, stay alive, stay safe, stay free. Because you already are. And on that note, folks, see you next week. Always remember. So true. So true. All right. For anyone who hung in there with this, God bless you. Good night.